Gina. Gina. Oh, you're talking about prayer. No?
That's generous.
Come ahead, Andy. Same thing I do every year.
How you doing, sir?
My job.
You coming tonight?
Oh, Adam, thank you for this.
What's she trying to say? We can bring a chair from the back. I'll get one.
Hey, Machine.
Adam, I just changed my mind. There's no reason to make Chad sit through all of that. Welcome to Education Policy. It's good to have such a big crowd here today. I've got a couple of things I want to ask you. First of all, to silence your cell phone if you've not already done so. And before we get started, I would ask to call on our newest member, Representative Crow, to open us in prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for this day. Just thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve the citizens of Alabama. I pray for wisdom. Lord, I pray that for this body and for our state today. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. I also want to introduce my granddaughter is paging with me today, and her friend is Riley McPhillips and Addison Jones will stand up. Please help me welcome them. I believe Representative Baker also has someone with him.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a guest as well here with this large overflow crowd that's here today. My guests actually are in the sort of auxiliary room here, so I would ask that both of them step out. Very good. So I have Emma Madison. She's a junior at Flomaton High School in Escambia County. Her father, Heath Madison, is employed by the city of Bruton, one of the high-ranking then police officers that we have in Bruton. Glad to have both of them here with us today. Thank you so much.
For the sake of time, I know we all have different superintendents and all in the room. And so if you are a visiting superintendent, would you please stand at this time? Thank you for joining us. I'm sure all of the members, you are the best one here. So just be aware that we think that. So thank you so much. I also want to remind all of our members that the A Plus is having a reception tonight. It starts at 5 o'clock and it is at Central. And it's at 5:30. Sorry, I'm reading it now. Don't go at 5, go at 5:30 at Central. And it's always a great event with a lot of people that really love education. So thank you. With that, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Collins.
Here.
Representative Baker. Here. Representative Drummond. Here. Representative Crowe. Representative Daniels. Representative DuBose. Representative Estes. Representative Fincher. Representative Gidley. Representative Gray. Representative Morris. Representative Paramore. Representative Pascal. Representative Ross. Representative Smith. A quorum is present.
Thank you. We're going to go a little bit out of order, and I'm going to ask the clerk to call up the second bill on our agenda.
House Bill 75 by Representative Robertson.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you,
You have the floor.
Committee. This bill would require high schools to allow school students participating in organized National Signing Day activities related to acceptance of athlete scholarships, post-secondary school education commitments, apprenticeship programs, and military enlistment to be excused from class. This bill would also require high schools to provide reasonable accommodations for those activities. I had this bill last year, and it went through the House and got stuck after that. So
As it happens.
it happens.
Are there any questions? Do I hear a motion?
There is a sub. There was a change from last year. You didn't have that?
We didn't get a sub.
Okay. Well, we can pass it the way it is then. The sub just clarified that the principal would allow the students to go watch the event and not. It just clarified that in the bill.
Before we accept changes and all or anything, here's what I'm going to say is knowing that, and I knew you had been working with someone, that's why we didn't put the bill on earlier. I appreciate your willingness to work, and I don't know what happened and why we didn't get that, but we didn't. But that's an easy amendment to add on the floor if you're good.
That's
Are
fine
you
with
good
me,
with
yes.
that? Okay, I heard a motion to accept the bill as presented from Representative Fincher, second from Representative Gidley. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? House Bill 75 is given a favorable report.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Minnie.
Clerk will call the first bill.
House Bill 43 by Representative Ingram.
Thank you, Chair Lady. This bill is it's kind of like what we started the meeting with, and a little bit of prayer. Didn't hurt anybody, huh? So this is a prayer in school bill. Of course, we've already got the pledge, but a lot of districts are not participating. Very few are not participating. But this is puts the devotion back into the classroom with an option of a Constitution amendment, and it also takes it to give it to each superintendent to have a vote on it whether they want to do it or not. So it's all optional, but it gives the options for the churches. For the schools to put it back into the classroom. And I do have a couple of amendments.
Well, actually, we have one of those amendments that are all together. If you look on your desk, on the very top, if you see an amendment, it is the two amendments
They're combined.
combined.
Right. And if you don't have a copy,
Well, they should all have a copy
Okay, of the
of
combined
the
one.
amendment
Okay, and that would be
that's
on the-
combined.
and-
It would be NR7 LPJT-1.
that's right.
It
Go ahead.
completely kind of changes some things, and would you go over what those
Yeah,
changes
so
are?
on your direction, and I appreciate your help on this bill.
You're welcome.
On what this does, it takes the word Bible out, and it's devotion, prayer, still in the classroom, if that's what the superintendent, so the school board wants to do. And it takes out the second part of that. It takes it out a permission slip, so that way you don't have to, the schools don't have to keep up with the permission slip. And if they have, school have something implemented they've put in place, then that child can go into that classroom, that designated place, and study the Bible and prayer. And, you know, in my opinion, we superintendents, thank y'all for what you do. But it's kind of like we supplement schools for food. And this is something that's needed that they don't get at home either in a lot of classrooms. So, in a lot of places at home, they don't get the opportunity to study the Bible or fellowship with other Christians or whatever the religion may be. It's not designated for one.
Before we start doing questions, I would like to go ahead and add the amendment because there are some things I don't think we want to have or religious text, or there were several things that we changed and
Took out of
several
it.
things
That's
that
right.
we took out because deleted entire sections because they required tracking of people in and people out, and it wasn't needed. So do I hear a motion? Does anyone offer the amendment? Representative Paramore offers the amendment to House Bill 43. Do I hear a second? Second by Representative Morris. Any questions about the amendment? All in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is adopted to House Bill 43. Are there any questions? Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, this is all voluntary, right?
It is, yes, ma'am.
So if a student, and I know you said Christian, and I'm a Christian as well, but if a student desires not to do this, they won't
It's
be
not
mandated,
mandatory,
or
no, ma'am.
the superintendents won't be mandated to do this.
Well, it's mandatory that they take a position. So they take a position devoted in their, their into their school if they want to do it. If they don't have to do it, but they do have to take a vote, a yes or no vote. The the school board does.
The
And
local,
so-
the local board.
That's right. Whether they want to put a policy in place or not. And then if they vote not to, there's no heartburn at all. That's their department.
So
It
they
just
still
gives
have
them
the
option.
freedom to be able to
That's
do
right.
that. And the
it's
student also maintains that freedom.
It's not in
if
the
they
classroom.
desire not to
That's
do it.
right. They go into a designated place to do whatever they want to do, whatever prayer they want to have.
But they still have the freedom.
Yes,
It's a
ma'am.
voluntary.
They don't. It's not in the normal classroom. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Reed, I much appreciate, what you're proposing with this bill, with the prayer and as well the pledge. The concern that I have involves then somewhat the punitive aspects of the bill.
So that's
and I
taken
understand
out.
that there's
Yes.
So guide me through on
Okay.
what has been taken,
So
because
the
I
only-
saw with this
only
new amendment
clawback-
and all, I was
yeah.
just trying to decipher all of this.
So the only clawback in this is if the school board doesn't take a position within 90 days after it's approved by the CA. So it goes to the vote of the people, and then the school board has to take a vote. That way, a lot of times a school board may say, well, we're just not going to vote on it up or down, but it gives it to their right to vote up or down. And if they don't take a vote, then there is a clawback. They have to take a vote. If they just don't do anything, then it's a problem. The people there have voted. The people in the state have voted as a CA, and they want the superintendent, so they want the school boards to take a position on it. And so it gives it to them to take a position. They can vote it down and decide not to do it, or they can vote it up, but they have to take a vote.
And this is in regards to Both
to implement
pledge
a policy.
and prayer, or
The policies.
one or both, or
Well, the pledge is already a law,
Right.
Our
well,
speaker
sometimes we
passed
have
that
things
in
that are repeated,
2015.
sort of redundant in law. So I didn't know if this was somewhat. You
So
didn't,
there's, the only clawback on that is there is no clawback now on the pledge. We say that it was a law. Our speaker passed that in 2015, and looking back, I think he'd wish he'd put some kind of teeth into it to where all the schools would
Right.
have the pledge, and this gives it a little teeth. And then they have to, if the school board is not doing, if school's not doing it, they contact their school board or their superintendent, and they contact the state superintendent, and then it's just corrected. The clawback is if they don't take a position on the CA.
okay. And so, reporting requirements now. Are there anything that you're aware?
No,
in
sir,
regards-
there are no that I know of. No, sir.
Okay.
You talking about on the pledge? Yeah, there's no.
Right, yeah, right on the pledge, I
Yeah,
guess.
there's no reporting requirements.
Okay. So the punitive part of that has been stripped from the bill?
So
that's
the
what I'm
part of it
understanding?
that if they don't do it, only part that's left in the bill, if they don't take a position. So the people of the state of Alabama have voted as a
Right.
CA for the schools to take a position, either yes or no. If they don't take a position, then there is some clawback. They have to take a yes or no vote.
And that's why I'm getting a little confused
the prayer.
between the
On the
pledge
prayer.
or the prayer. So
The prayer, the pledge is already there.
Okay.
Pledge is already there. There's no money loss that I know of. It's just the state superintendent would get involved if it was not being done in their school.
And when you say this requires them to take a position, so the position could be that this isn't something that they're going to do, or this could be something
They just
that
have
they are
to take a
going
vote
to
of
do.
yes or no. If it's no, there's no clawback. If it's yes, they have to put in policies in place in their school system.
So I guess in my mind it's a little bit open-ended that they could go either way and there would be no punitive recourse
damage
on that as
whatsoever.
long
No,
as
there's no
they at least
clawback.
then have a policy.
That's
on where
right.
they're-
As long as they have
that clears up a lot for me. That helps.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one follow-up question. This will be put on November's ballot, is that what
It
I'm
will be.
understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is this clawback that you keep referring to if a
No.
board does
So,
not take
If
a yes or no vote?
the citizens vote for it, for the CA, and it's yes, and the school boards don't take a position and don't vote at all, then they could stand a chance of losing 25% of their state funding if they don't take a position at all. If they don't take it to a yes or no vote, they could lose their funding. It doesn't matter if it's a no. They've taken a vote and it's a record, then they don't have any
Isn't that
issue.
rather punitive to the children?
No, I
If
don't
the
think so.
action of the
So
board
the-
doesn't take a vote, the
Ma'am,
school
so-
system loses 25% of their funding?
Well, so
That's
the-
rather punitive.
Well, people have, if they vote yes, the people want them to take a vote. So if they don't take a vote, then they're not following what the people had voted on. So if it doesn't pass in the CA, they don't have to take any position. So this is all up to the people of the state of Alabama. So this is
I get that.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
get that. But I'm talking about the clawback.
the clawback.
That if whatever
Well-
number is on that board, if they choose not to vote to take any action, the clawback is 25% of their funding.
could be up to.
Up
be
to
up to.
whatever the number is.
So,
that means that the children of Alabama will lose if those individuals don't take a vote.
So, Representative Drummond-
That's what it boils down to.
So here's the position. So the speaker passed a bill in 2015.
I got that. I voted on that bill.
Right, and there's some school boards that are not doing it. So there's got to be some kind of, incentive for them to take a yes or no vote. I mean, you want them to. Me and you come down here to take a yes or no vote. We don't not come down here to vote.
But
I mean,
our
we don't abstain
clawback
on
is
it.
they go to the polls and they vote us out.
Right, and
but
that's-
it's the clawback here is taking money from the children
don't
who
know
we're
if-
trying to educate.
I don't know if
I have a
anybody-
problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know of any school board that wouldn't take a vote if the people of the state of Alabama wanted, if that's what they wanted, and they voted for it on the CA, on the Constitution Amendment. They would want them to take a position, and I don't know of any school that wouldn't want prayer back in school. And so I don't know of any school that's going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just not going to take a position at all.
But Rep, this is not about for
gotta be.
me, in reading what the clawback is,
Yeah.
what you're talking about, we're talking about two different issues. Yes, if it's a constitutional amendment on the ballot and the people take a vote, yes, they want prayer in school.
Right.
But if a school board does not take reciprocal action to say yes or no in a public meeting, I would think, right? You said yes or no.
That's right.
And if they do not do that, however many people are on that board, then the clawback in this piece of legislation would say we'd lose 25% of our funding.
So
we're talking about two separate issues. One dealing with the people, the other one is going to take money away from the children.
But wouldn't
that I have a problem
But
with.
wouldn't you want to encourage them some kind of? We do economic development all
Why
the time.
don't you do
We
it to the
clawback.
school board personally, but why to the children? They are not responsible for what those members do.
Well, I mean, I guess they are. They're elected just like me and you are, I guess,
The
aren't they?
children are not elected.
know, but the
children are the
school
ones
board is.
who are depending on the funding so that we can keep
Yeah.
making education better in the state of Alabama.
And I hear you, but we have to put clawback on economic development to incentivize people to keep what they said they would do. You know,
Apples and oranges.
I agree. I agree.
Not to be redundant, what Representative Drummond mentioned, and so the 25%. Now we've been focusing a lot on some need-based funding models here last year, and certainly appreciate all the work that went into that.
Yes, sir.
But now we're trying to undo some of what we've done by being punitive, based upon whether a school system actually opt into something or not.
Well, they don't have to opt in or not. It's just they have to take a vote. It doesn't matter if they vote.
Yeah, but
no,
if it goes to
no
the
penalty.
ballot, it's almost like a mandate. It's a constitutional amendment, so it
Right.
becomes constitutional at that
Right.
point. And so there's no way around it. The other piece to this is, I'm sick and tired of us just focusing on attacking public schools in this committee.
I agree. That's where we
I've
increase
seen
their
it,
budget.
but here's the thing: we have individuals voting on something that don't have children in public schools, never had children in public schools, never attended public schools themselves. You're opening something up for the entire state of Alabama. Individuals that have no direct relation with public schools, you're having them vote on and making a decision for public schools.
I think everybody has skin in the game. If they pay, taxes, property tax, if they pay sales tax, they do have skin in the game on public schools.
Why don't we just open it up for all schools then?
Well,
I mean,
this
laws
is
are
what we got.
created. Doesn't matter who breaks the law, whether they're in public or private. The law still applies to them.
All this.
So let's open it up to let's open it up. And I offer an amendment. Let's open it up to all schools. Since we want to just pick
bring
and
that
choose and
amendment to the
bully.
floor, and I'd be glad to consider it.
Well, we know. Come on.
I don't have an amendment ready here, and I didn't know that question was.
It won't take long. We can carry this over and get one ready. If you're serious about this, let's do it.
Yeah, well, I've been carrying it over. We pre-filed this bill, and the chairman's been real gracious to help me with it.
I think it just for me, I'm just sick and tired of this.
Yeah.
I've seen a number of bills that come through this committee that's strictly focusing on attacking public schools. We're supposed to be helping
this is
public
not
schools
this is
rise to the occasion. It's my time right now.
I get it.
Okay? It's my time. We're supposed to be helping public schools rise to the occasion. I know that you want Montgomery Public Schools and Pike Road Schools to be successul.
Right. I support it.
Right.
That's the only ones I give money to.
But I think for us, for me, is seeing how when are we going to stop? Because this has nothing to do with improving the quality of education. This has nothing to do with providing more tax dollars for the schools that are struggling. This has nothing to do with raising the science scores. This has nothing to do with the reading scores, Literacy Act or Numeracy Act. It has nothing to do with college and career readiness. But we're focusing our attention on trivial things for political gain.
Well, I don't.
And I'm sick of
political
it.
gain. I hadn't been in.
No, this is purely political.
I-
Because to do a constitutional amendment, you're trying to appeal to a certain base of people, but those people are sick and tired because they're hurting right now.
And that's what we're trying
And
to
you're
do.
going to see this in November.
Yeah, we're trying to help the kids in the public.
There's no way this is helping these kids. Tell me what test they're taking or any assessment that they're taking,
you don't think-
formative
you don't
or
think-
summative, that's helping them with this.
I think putting God in their life is really helping them.
Well, we put God in a lot of people's life. Does that mean that their character changes?
I don't know.
Absolutely not.
I think it
I
changes
see
a lot
people
of-
that carry around a Bible every day
Yeah.
and put a cross on, wearing a cross around their neck. The biggest hypocrites and devils I've ever seen.
Well,
Okay. Are there any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
To move the bill forward, please.
We have a
Favorable
motion to
review.
give the bill a favorable report as amended. Do I hear a second?
Roll call.
We have a second, a second for that motion to give it a favorable report. We have a roll call request. The roll call has to be made before. I knew it required a second, but it,
Or before the vote, or before the motion was made, we could have the motion withdrawn, and then we could do the roll call. But we'll make the motion.
I don't know about that.
Madam Chair, the
Vice
May I?
Chair. Yes, you may.
Leader Daniels did mention about the possibility of maybe trying to carry the bill over for some additional work. Would that be a consideration going forward to see if?
Well, right now, we have a motion and a second on the table.
So if there was a reconsideration then of the motion, then to table that, then perhaps then to consider
I
carrying the
move
bill
for a
over
favorable
further work.
report.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second for a favorable report. We did not have the roll call vote asked for before those happened.
If anyone would like to be marked as a no or an abstention, please request that, and I can mark you as a no or an abstention.
And everybody understands the ruling. So as of right now, all of those in favor of this bill say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed to this bill say aye.
Aye.
No, I'm no.
Say no. I don't care which one you say. I mean, we're on the no side. So that would be it.
Madam Chair, is that
I don't believe I heard enough ayes right now.
We both said aye. We all said aye.
No, you all didn't say it.
I didn't hear all the ayes. I really did not. At this point in time, because we've had changes, I would like us to not carry this bill over right now. We will bring it back. We will listen to what their concerns are, and we will bring it back next time because I did not hear enough ayes. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Thank you.
Clerk will call the last bill on our agenda.
House Bill 396 by Representative Collins.
I'm going to go over the changes in this bill. I listened all last week, all the week before, all of the weekend, and this week. And as you saw, I got you the sub. It is the fourth draft of the sub, trying to address all of the different things that have been brought to our attention. I do want to remind everybody, first of all, that we've had this law on the books since 2012. At that point in time, we voted this body to have a reader-friendly, a easy-to-understand format to assess how our schools are doing, using achievement and growth and the same measures that we're doing. We were in a 6-year task force, so we did not get that first grade until 2018 after it was passed in 12. And so it takes the measures, the intent of this was to take the measures that we have now to put more appropriate weights. Some of the things that we've done is I'd heard nothing but how chronic absenteeism was a punitive thing for a lot of schools, and it was something schools had no control over. And so originally we had that indicator out. Then I heard people wanting it back. trying to listen to what everyone's saying, I want to go over just some of the changes. We will then open it up into the public hearing, and then I will be glad to come front and give the gavel to the vice chair and answer any and all questions that you have. On schools without a 12th grade, we did put chronic absenteeism back in, but only at 5%. It's currently at 15%. The growth of the lowest performing 25% is to close the education gap. That's how other states are doing it. It's working, and that is something that's very important. We started at 20%, we went to 15%, and it is now at 10%. It's 10% to try to close that and help those students that started furthest behind. When I asked superintendents where to put the extra 5%, it was requested to put it in achievement. And so if you look at it, it's 45% achievement, 40% growth, 10% growth of that bottom 25%, where all schools have. I added that part for Ms. Drummond, that every school has the bottom 25%. Not every school has poverty. Not every school has English language learners. Every school has a bottom 25%, and that would make it fair. For schools with a 12th grade, achievement is at 30, growth at 20. The lowest 25% is at 5%. College and career and graduation have reversed. What we're trying to do, graduation doesn't have an exam. It doesn't have anything. Basically, you're still breathing at the end of those 12 years. So college and career ready and the strengthening that we put in those indicators are telling a student that, yes, you are prepared to go to college, or yes, you have a valuable credential of some kind that prepares you to go to career. This one also adds the return on investment that stayed in there. A lot of people were very positive about that. I was glad to hear it. And it has the Accountability Council. A lot of people were concerned about the continuous improvement of lifting the bar, which is how we do everything that we do with continuous improvement. But I have taken out any type measure and left that up to the Accountability Council that will know what's going on in the environment and everything, and they would make that call at that time. I've also delayed that for 3 years because that seemed really important. So as far as the changes, those seem to be the biggest ones that I had, and I am happy to answer questions after the public hearing. And so at this point, we will start the public hearing. Because of time, I'm going to give each of the opponents 2 minutes. And the first opponent that will be speaking to us today is Jason Barnett.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Barnett, and I'm the incoming executive director for the School Superintendents of Alabama. Thank you, Chairwoman, Vice Chairman of the committee, for the opportunity to speak to you today. Raising the bar is something that's very important to all of us. I think everybody in this room, in this gallery, is behind that. I know Dr. Mackey certainly is in favor of that as well. I think Governor Ivey said it best in her State of the State speech, as well as in the resolution she issued earlier this week on Monday, that states need to look no further than Alabama when looking to make educational improvements. How have we raised the bar? We've increased our standards. We've increased our benchmark assessments. We've increased our cut scores. The Alabama Comprehensive Assessment Program is the most rigorous assessment process that Alabama has ever had. The State Board of Education adopted increased new standards for both math and English language arts and was most recently tested on in 2022 and 2023, respectively. In fall of 24, the Alabama Board of Education, on the recommendation of Dr. Mackey, ratified 2 incremental and progressive cut score increases to the Literacy Act. One took place last year in 24-25. One takes place in 26-27. We've modified our standards, we've modified our assessment, and we've increased our benchmark and cut scores. The results on the nation's report card, the NAEP, Alabama has the largest increase in 4th grade math, going from 52nd to 32nd. On 4th grade reading, we've increased 15 points from 49th to 34th. Our teachers are working hard every day to continue to make those incremental gains. Alabama ranks 1st in the states in math recovery, 3rd in the nation in reading recovery. Alabama is the only state in the nation to earn a strong rating for improving math instruction according to the National Council on Teacher Quality. Alabama is currently ranked 5th in the nation in computer science, workforce credentialing, and workforce pathways are an all-time high. These are things that all Alabamians should be proud of. This report card won't change any of these accolades, accomplishments, standards, assessments. It'll simply change how they're reported and the public perception thereof. Alabama schools are making historic gains, and because we've allocated resources, we've put in strong forward.
Thank you, Mr.
I ask that
Barnett.
we not move this out of committee. Thank you.
Next, I'll call Walter Gonzolin. Am I saying that right?
No.
No. I had a feeling.
That's all right. That's all right.
Will you please say your name so I'll have it right next time?
Walter Gonsalin.
Gonzolin.
I want to first say thank you to the chair and the vice chair for having me to speak today. I am Walter Gonsalin. I'm the superintendent of Jefferson County Schools. In October of 24, I was named the State Superintendent of the Year for the state of Alabama. And in March of 2025, I was named the National Superintendent of, National Superintendent of the Year. Add me some more time. But anyway, I want to tell you, as I competed for the National Superintendent of the Year, Alabama had not had one National Superintendent of the Year winner for 37 years from the inception of it. I knew the reason why. I had an idea as to the reason why. And I think that reason why was because of some stereotypes, and quite frankly, maybe we weren't competing well. And so I coined this term, Alabama has something to say, as it relates to education. And for 2 days in Arlington, Virginia, I began to talk about and say what the entire state of Alabama had to say. I talked about dual enrollment. I talked about CCR. I talked about AP scores, signature academies, and all of those great things that we're doing. At the same time, the nation started to talk about the Southern Surge, which is Alabama leading the way in achievement and increase in student success. Mississippi and also Louisiana. By the way, I've been in all three of those states, and I think I had something to do with that. But the bottom line is that this country, for the past year, they've been contacting me to hear about what does Alabama have to say because of those results, everything that Dr. Barnett talked about. I've had enough speaking engagements that I had to stop them because, that's time. All right, I'm a Pentecostal preacher, y'all. That's not enough time for me.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Gonsolin. Did I do better then? Chris Robbins.
Thank you very much, members of the committee. My name is Chris Robbins. I serve as the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction for Hoover City Schools. I represent school leaders across Alabama who believe in strong school accountability and are champions for public schools and public school students across the state. I'm also someone that's entrenched in the work of school accountability every single day. My goal is to help you understand just a little bit about the local impact of House Bill 396. Hoover does oppose the specific framework that's offered in HB 396. It's going to fundamentally misrepresent the successes and areas of growth for Alabama schools. There are several aspects of this bill that don't make sense locally, and I'd like to give just a few examples. First, this bill devalues the importance of Alabama students earning a high school diploma by decreasing the weight on the report card from 30% to only 10%. Over the last 5 years, our state has significantly raised the bar in earning a high school diploma and earning a career credential. Another example is this proposed bill increases the weight of ACT for Alabama high school state report cards from 20% to 30%. The ACT is a one-grade, one-day, 5 or 6 hour test, and increasing the weight misrepresents any high school's achievement and success. The new accountability system also includes 2 different growth measures, academic growth for all students and also academic growth just for the bottom 25%. So what this means is that mathematically, schools are held accountable for the growth of 25% of their students twice on the same report card. Mathematically, that doesn't make sense. This bill does mandate that if 60% of our schools are an A or a B, then we must meaningfully raise the scale. It doesn't make sense locally for us to change the rules during the game. So Alabama school districts, we're not opposed to accountability. but we do want to ensure that we have a system that accurately gauges our success. So today we do urge a no vote on HB 396. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call up Daniel Ballantyne. Barrington, sorry.
That's okay.
Those are ours.
Look, I'm a Baptist, so like my Pentecostal friend over here, is 2 minutes can be tough. I do feel like I'm speaking at graduation, though, with all these folks here. So I'm the principal at George W. Long High School. That's in rural Dale County. I was the principal of the year for the state of Alabama for 2023. So just a few credentials for myself. Look, we're not opposed to raising the bar. Just like you guys, we share in that. We want that for our students. However, we are opposed to rigid mandates that go into law that will ultimately render our students and ourselves obsolete in equipping our students for what we need for the state, because we're going to be concerned about how we do on a report card score. So we're going to take all of those aspects of what we're doing and we're going to focus our schools so we can achieve more. But if there's rigid, static list that we have to follow, that's going to be really tough for us to do as our world evolves, as our state evolves. So we are asking that you oppose this bill, not because we're against raising the bar, not because you're against raising the bar, but because you choose professional flexibility over rigid restrictions and knee-jerk reactions. And I've supplied you with this right here that can kind of go in a step-by-step process as to where we feel like this bill will actually limit public schools and render us obsolete. There's a step-by-step situation there that goes from placing us in a box, which this will do. It will move the goalpost on us, which we believe that. It's going to create confusion in our communities when we're talking about our accountability scores. It also talks about a better solution, which is, again, letting us as educators lead our students in Alabama to success rather than mandating, legislatively creating a law that puts something so complex and nuanced into state statute. So we ask that you oppose this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barrington. Next, I'll call Farrell Seymour.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Farrell Seymour, Executive Director for the Council for Leaders in Alabama Schools, and we represent nearly 4,700 school leaders from across the state, and including many in this room, and principals from elementary through high school. My colleagues have added much of what I was going to say, so I'll just add one other point, and that to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Barrington said. As a teacher myself, I know good assessment happens when you set standards in front and all your students know the goal that they're working toward. Having an automatic grade scale change is arbitrary and moves those goalposts mid-game. We believe that's detrimental in this situation. And that can significantly affect student and educator morale. Our folks work very hard, they're professionals, and sudden changes in these standards can create frustration. It diminishes trust in the school and sends the message that the progress is not recognized nor appreciated that's going on. And we've sung some of the accolades that have happened over the last few years. Additionally, school grades influence more than just perception. It affects community reputation. It affects teacher recruitment, property values, business attraction. It affects workforce recruitment and economic development decisions. So abruptly changing the report card system we have could create artificial declines in school ratings, not because performance dropped, but the metrics changed arbitrarily. And this may undermine public confidence and disrupt workforce development. So I've been a principal, I've been a superintendent, I've stood before those students, educators, principals who fought hard and come up short. It's heartbreaking to meet with them, but they care. And we don't mind high standards. We don't mind a challenge. We're workers. But at the end of the day, what's been presented here is not something that our school leaders across the state are agreeable to. So we would respectfully ask that you vote no on House Bill 396, please.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Christy Hoveter, and I probably butchered her name too because I only call her Christy. But she is a national expert, and I'll let her tell who she's with. And because Christy is here as an expert from out of town, we use 10 minutes on one side, so I'm going to ask if she'll use 7 and then leave final minutes for one last person. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Collins, members of the committee. I truly appreciate the invitation to stand here before you for this public hearing in Alabama. I had a whole bunch of remarks prepared, but I think I'm just going to speak from experience instead. I appreciate all of the work that you do as superintendents. Certified teacher out of the state of Minnesota, but have spent most of my career working for state departments of education, mainly for Florida. I worked for Governor Bush for both of his administrations and currently work for him now as a senior policy fellow at Excel in Ed. It's a national nonprofit based out of Florida. When we were working for Governor Bush, he approached everything with a no excuses attitude. He was very clear that even the students who were the most behind deserved all of our attention to catch up and treat all students equally. We had a really tough conversation about school accountability. I was directing and was the architect for the Florida school accountability system. And the first year we issued grades, we had more D's and F's than we did A's or B's. That didn't stop us. The constituent calls, the district calls, the teacher calls, the complaints that I got from pretty much everybody were really hard to stomach. But a transparent accountability system that truly measures things that matter for students got us through those tough times. We have consistently raised the bar on expectations in Florida. Florida was the worst performing state in the nation when we started our accountability system. But through the tough measures that we've been implementing over the early aughts, we moved up to be almost national average. Now we're in the top 10. It's that slow, consistent, persistent improvement and reform, and a true focus on the lowest performing students and a continuous raising of the bar. The first 10 years of implementation went really well. We had automatic increases in place. When we revised our school grading system, we took those out. We stagnated. We had like 75% of schools earning an A or a B. That was not indicative of student performance in the state of Florida. We reinstituted the automatic increase. It went into effect the following year. We started seeing improvements. We're continuously raising the bar on what it means to be important or to be successful. I know it's hard. It's a tough subject. It's never one that's popular. I spend a lot of my time doing defense. But to me, because we've been doing education accountability for my entire career, the last 27 years, we've kind of lost sight of why we do it. And it's about the kids. It's making sure that we have high expectations for every single student and we don't waver on those, and we don't expect just a little bit of growth. We expect every kid to reach proficient or advanced performance, and we want to make sure that every single student is getting enough support to reach those goals. Kids spend 13 years in school, and we spend roughly $6 billion every single year in Alabama on education. Expecting them to know something and knowing our money was well spent is not asking too much. We do have a lot of trade-offs in our system. Graduation rates are respectable and a good measure of student outcomes, but because there's no objective measure of student performance built into those graduation rates anymore, it's difficult to demonstrate that 100% of students or 90% of students are graduating, yet only 5% of students are proficient on the reading test, or 7% of kids are proficient on the math test. There's a big disconnect there, and that's not doing anything for our students. We want to make sure that every indicator in our accountability system is a meaningful outcome to a student, and making sure that we're preparing them well for the next grade and for life after high school. Their income and future prosperity depends on how well we do in K-12 education and get them set up. And it's not just the individual student. This is an economic development purpose for the state of Alabama. Workforce demands depend on the students that we're producing here. Economic long-term growth depends on how well we prepare students here. The future of Alabama and social stability depends on how well we prepare students here. So really doubling down and making sure all students are being held accountable, and additionally that those lowest performing students are being brought up as well, is really important. It rises the tide. For the last 14 years, I've dedicated a majority of my time to helping the state of Mississippi develop their accountability system. They're also very well recognized for the improvements that they've made. A critical piece of their system is focusing on the lowest 25%, as well as having automatic increases. Just this past year, we implemented an increase in the accountability system. The committee came together, and it's made up of superintendents and educators, and they raised the bar on expectations for what it takes to earn an A or a B next year. The reason the automatic increase is imperative is it's never a good time to raise expectations. People are always running for something. It's always wanting to demonstrate success. We want to make sure that we have an automatic increase in place that really forces the issue to make sure we're increasing those rigorous expectations. Alabama's been doing a great job in moving performance for fourth graders on NAEP reading and math. NAEP reading is right back to almost where it was pre-COVID levels. NAEP math is above where it was pre-COVID levels. I applaud that. Still right around the national average. Just because we've improved to where we were before doesn't mean that's great performance for all of our students. Eighth grade's another story. Still struggle quite a bit with eighth grade performance as well. Focusing more on achievement in high school is also important. If you're looking at the ACT, which is augmented to meet Alabama state standards, and we're looking at it in the junior year, I really expect students to be proficient or on grade level by then. Making growth just isn't enough when we're going to be turning those kids loose into the real world in just another year. So I really do hope that you consider raising the bar, doubling down on the focus of those lowest performing kids, implementing automatic increases. I've seen it firsthand in a number of states that as soon as you start resting on laurels and understanding that you have been experiencing success but aren't continuously pushing, Governor Bush always says success is never final, reform is never finished. This isn't the time to let up now. If we keep persisting on where we are headed and keep our eye on the end goal, we're gonna make huge improvements. Louisiana is the most recent state I worked with. They're gunning for you too, so keep it up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time to be with us today. Last, I'm going to call on Mark Dixon, and he'll have the final minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's great to be with you all today. We talked a lot about progress today, and we are extremely proud of that. Alabama is a part of the Southern Surge, and that's not an accident. It didn't happen by accident. Part of why that happened is because the legislator set a clear bar for performance, and the state supported schools in meeting it rather than lowering the bar when challenges arose. That's the importance of accountability. To support students in schools, you have passed and funded the Literacy Act. You have passed and funded the Numeracy Act as two examples, and neither of those were easy votes or agreed upon. And now the RAISE Act will add over $500 million over the next 3 years for student needs. To sustain this momentum, we must raise the bar. Our recent gains show that high expectations work. The 8th Ref report card did what it was supposed to do. It focused attention, created urgency, and paired with the investments that you made, helped schools improve. But when more and more schools are earning high grades, it's a signal that accountability system must evolve to continue driving improvement. That means the work is not yet finished. That's exactly what Florida and other states you've heard about have done, and they're leading the nation in long-term educational progress. The state's 8th Ref report card is about setting high expectations, and under our current accountability system, most of our schools have gone from getting B or C's to A's and B's. That's real progress, and we rightly celebrate that. However, our own tests show that we have a long way to go. 60% of students are proficient in reading, and that means 40%. 40% are not. Only 35% of students are proficient in math, and that means 65% are not. States that lead the country have updated their report cards to better measure student growth, progress for the lowest performing students, and college and career readiness, and Alabama has not fundamentally updated our report card in nearly a decade. The hardest time to raise the bar is when you're doing well, but that's why it's so important to sustain this progress. In Alabama, winning coaches don't take the win in the game and rest on their laurels. They continually raise expectations for their players because they know competition is going to come back better next year, and every year after that. Our students deserve nothing less. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm going to come out front and take questions and turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Baker. I believe I spoke with every single one of you on the floor yesterday. I appreciate the time and the intense questions and the good things you've done. I know you have had a barrage of information and calls to you, and I know this is hard. This is not my first time to do something where every single group just about was working against it, especially when it's for education and the kids. It seems to be the standard status quo. But I am going to ask you to look at the changes. I told you last week I would do this. I was surprised we didn't have a public hearing. To be perfectly honest, I'm surprised we didn't have a public hearing with the bill right before this one. I don't understand where public hearings went. You know, when we had public hearings, it was so that you could hear everything opposed, everything for, and then we had a week to vote, to listen, to let you ask your questions and find out where you are. Well, what I'm going to tell you is while I found what happened last week after I intentionally did not ask for a vote to be very disingenuous, that shouldn't affect you. Just like penalties of what school boards do shouldn't affect kids, that shouldn't affect you. I want you to have your answers. I want you to know what you're voting on and feel good about it. And so, therefore, I'm not going to ask you to vote today, but I am going to ask you to ask questions. I am going to ask you to clarify points and anything that's been brought to you to tell. Everything I shared with you at the beginning were changes that were made to improve it. I would like to say a couple more things, and then I would love to answer some questions. First of all, I am extremely thankful for our progress. I do agree with what Mark said. A lot of it's been motivated by changes that we've put in good policy that people have followed. And I appreciate y'all's attention to do that. The hard work that the schools, the superintendents, the principals have done, and the students particularly, I will always appreciate that. Alabama, this bill is all about education, Minority Leader Daniels, every bit of it. It's about lifting our bar and making sure that we continue to improve. I don't understand why when we're doing well, that's not the time. We are investing. We're investing in career tech like we never have. We're investing in turnaround schools. We're investing in coaching, professional development, literacy, numeracy. We're doing everything we can to put money in the schools to do the things that we need them to do. We talk about one test, and that's not fair. Why are we not giving an end-of-the-year test in 9th and 10th grade? Why are we not using ACAP scores to affect the students' test of grade at the end of the time? There are things that have nothing to do with the legislature that need to be implemented by the Department of Education. Those are things I think. When I look at the report card and I saw a weakening, that's what motivated it. It's not arbitrary. It's not. I've been to the school board for the last 5 to 6 years asking for these changes. College and career readiness was meant to be, and this is the first year that they'll have to have an indicator to graduate, one that shows that they are ready to go to college or that they are ready to go to career, not something that they're really not prepared to do anything because we weakened it so much. And so that's what I've tried to do with these. Getting these weights right is a challenge, and I want to get it right. Setting up that accountability council at the end so that they could make changes down the line, that we don't have to keep changing and stepping in with the law, that's what that's about. This would enable them to do that. I think it would be the right people on there, and I think it would do a good job. Raising the bar doesn't erase our progress. It protects it. And it keeps us with a sense of urgency of moving forward. I've truly tried in all 4 of the drafts of this bill to address everything y'all brought up to me. And so if there are questions about the things that you've heard and the things that you won't, I would ask that you go through the chairman and ask me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have definitely a passion for education, that's without a doubt, and what you're trying to achieve in so many different realms of education. I do appreciate and applaud your effort then that this being a work in progress, that is trying to listen and as well then make considerations and going forward to make this bill the best that it could be. With that then, Representative Drummond, then you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to tell our chair lady, thank you for being so open. I hear your passion. I think we all have a passion, and I think everybody in this room, all of us have the same goal. We want to see our children excel. And I wanted to say, you asked what do we want from you, or what I want you to get with all of the voices that were in the room today. Because I received a lot of calls, but some of those calls said that you have not sat at the table with them. I want you to sit at the table with them.
Well, I sat at the table
Well, no, let me finish.
with 12 on Monday.
Because I have been with you all the way. And I am probably one of the biggest cheerleaders for all of the hard votes that we've had to take. And I appreciate your passion, but I think we all want to get this right. Because we're dealing with our children's future. And I know the passion. I go to bed with that passion as you do. And I appreciate you. But I want to make sure that all of the voices have been heard and everything has been taken place. I want from the Department of Education, I want from the superintendents, the principal, all the way down to the students to make sure that all of those voices, because that's how we achieve success. I was in a parade not very long ago at one of my schools that achieved 100%. And it was all just parents. And I was just so elated to see so many parents, to see those children. And we were there all for the right reason. It was all about them, to celebrate what they've done. I don't think anybody wants us not to move the goalposts. We all have the same heart. We just all need to sit down and talk with each other and make sure we get there and do it together at the right time. So I thank you for what you're doing, and I thank you for being such a compassionate person that you're willing to listen to those voices. And I would hope by the time we come back, all voices would have prevailed.
Well, I will say, while I have tried all last week, I can't even imagine how many people I sat down with. I answered every phone call I believe that I got, every email I responded to. All of the changes I have in here are not. If you remember, all of those hard votes we met, everyone came to the table when they saw the bill moving. I'm not asking for the bill to move today, but I will next week, because that's how we get everybody to the table. It's just how the process works. And so I have made substantial changes to the bill that's in the sub right now. And I would very much, we will post that so it's public. I want everyone to have it. But I'm open for suggestions of what needs to be done to make it work and implement correct and fairly, and not just vote no.
Leader Daniels, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would say that the same sentiments as Representative Drummond. We certainly have gone through a lot of transitions in education and seen some very valuable outcomes, especially in the reading and math, some of which I questioned as a former educator in the beginning, but I trusted your judgment on those particular decisions. I think for me, I get a lot of my marching orders for those that are currently in the classroom and those are current administrators. And for me, my question would always be, will this help Huntsville? And if it will help Huntsville, I would like to certainly see more of a mock report on as to how it's going to help Huntsville. But I would ask and urge you to, if you, with a large system like a Huntsville city system, I would certainly want you to visit with the administration in the Huntsville City Schools, because that's where I'll get a lot of my guidance and counsel regarding this issue, and then using my background as a former educator and dealing with some of the folks that are at the curriculum level right now that have been able to see it to where it used to be done and where it's done right now. We're seeing positive results, certainly. Of course, you know that my issue is with science right now, and so that's really
I hope
my
that
focus.
to be a part of this one day, yes.
Okay. But we're gonna have to get those Amstock kits out the back of the classroom, folks, because I'm not happy about that at all. I actually want to have a real conversation about that issue at some point, but we just cannot continue to waste dollars in areas that are not moving like they should with the investments that we're making. And so I'll be open-minded on this issue, but I'll tell you that I will get my guidance from my superintendent and.
Well, my superintendent's in the room, and he's run the numbers, and he's done that before. And so they are all able to do that to the best of their ability. I mean, doing growth towards proficiency is going to be a little bit different. And so therefore, but it's also going to be a little bit more real. And so I think that there are pieces that would be hard to actually see, but it's still doing it the right thing. You started by saying you wanted to do the right thing for the kids in your system. I believe that raising the bar so that they can all be successful is the right thing.
Well, of course, I've been an advocate for raising the bar.
I believe you told me that last week, that you thought you liked the bill. So
I did. I said that.
You said that.
No.
You said that to me.
There's no way that I made that comment after the calls I received.
You said that to me. Last week, you apologized for not being in the committee.
I will withdraw my. If I made that comment, I certainly want to withdraw that comment right now.
I'm going to take your first comment, not your withdrawal.
But I think that for me, I certainly I don't recall that. But if I said that, I certainly want to make certain that I set the record straight of withdrawing that comment until I've vetted and dug deeper in this piece of legislation, as I've heard from my superintendent and other folks in the education sphere. And so I will admit that. But I don't recall that. But I'll take your word for it. And so for me, I just want to see how we can kind of raise the bar. And of course, you support an effort that I have in the city's Huntsville City school system, where we use math and reading teachers to teach the after-school programs to raise the bar. So then we've seen some growth from that, and so that's something that is being implemented system-wide now in the sense of tutorial. But I think that students that are actually performing need some challenging as well, so that we're raising the bar for them as well. So.
Exactly.
Representative Gidley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Chair, this will be real brief because we've already had several good comments. I do want to echo, I know your work, and you've worked hard over these last 16 years you've been down here to help improve education. You and I have shared my concerns over this bill, and a lot of those come to do from listening to those who are in the trenches every single day. So I appreciate you pausing this today. And I will continue to have more conversations with those that I look to, and I'll echo Representative Daniels. I do listen to my principals and my superintendents. I like to listen to those that have, on the ground. I'm surrounded by education, and then in my family, different things. I do appreciate your work, and I am excited about what we're doing in Alabama. We're doing some great things, and we don't want to stump our toe. We don't want to become complacent. We do that, but we want to move forward in an effective way. And I think there was so many concerns here. We had to at least clear those up, or either say, okay, we've created a conversation here. Let's keep that conversation going. But appreciate you pausing that. I'm going to continue to listen and talk with those that I respect. And then, as we go forward. But I do appreciate your work, appreciate the work of all of these sitting in this room today. And I'm glad where we are in Alabama. We want to keep it moving forward. So
thank you.
Representative Dubose, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Collins. And look, this bill, I'm glad we're not voting on it. I'm neither a yes or a no. I am hopeful for this bill. And
Me too.
Yeah, I am. And this is the deal. We need to start speaking in specifics and not generalities.
Thank you.
And I spent an hour and a half in my office today with Dr. Robbins, and we had great conversation. And I think we found a lot of areas that we agreed in. We found some areas that we didn't understand, and now we understand better. And, for example, one of Dr. Robbins' concerns was on the data collection and the burden that might take on the high schools or the schools in general, and tracking these kids and all this data. And Corinne O'Brien just happened to be at the door, and Miranda Thomas, and then before we knew it, I had the best knowledgeable educators in my office, and we just started drilling down on these things, and come to find out the burden's not on the high schools to collect that data or on the high school to follow those students. That's from the Workforce Development Office. And
Parker already does a study on that.
yeah, so some of these things that look really scary, once you start understanding what they are, may not be so scary. And one of the things we went over, every single college and career readiness marker, benchmark on ACT, that's that score that's set by somebody out there in the world. Like, who sets that score?
I think the board does.
The board.
I mean, it's Alabama's benchmark.
Yeah, so, I mean, we went through every
It's
one
not
of
every
these.
state's benchmark, it's Alabama's.
Alabama's, okay. And it was reasonable, right? So we went through every one of these college and career readiness points. Is this, or if you complete one of these, is this realistic? Is this a good marker? Do you agree with this? And we all agreed on these new benchmarks, on these new, you have to pick one of those, right? And
correct.
They all
One
make
indicator.
sense when you go through those indicators one by one by one. And then we looked at, we spent a lot of time talking about the ACT, because that's the benchmark in Alabama. That's our benchmark for achievement. And it's taken on one day by the junior class. And it's
But it doesn't have to be. We could do an end of course in the ninth
That's
grade
right.
and the
So-
10th.
So that's
why
like
we're not.
learned.
I don't
We're
know.
like, you know, and that's something that we learned, that we discussed. And so anyway, these are not easy conversations that we can have, and you cannot speak in generalities. Everybody, when we have these conversations, we need to sit down and go point by point by point, and we need to look at the numbers, and we need to think about it.
Thank you.
And maybe it doesn't make sense, maybe it does, but it educates me, it educates all of us. We can't advocate one way or the other until we truly understand this. And you can't advocate one way or the other until you really understand what we're trying to do here and what this data collection is. And so it just became apparent to me that we didn't all have a consensus on what this bill even does and stands for.
Thank you.
Representative Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, you and I have talked about this a great deal, and you have listened and you have tried to do things. I will go along with Anthony on the AMSTI kits.
I will too.
Guys, it's hard to take 6 microscopes for 35 students and try to take 3 of those apart to make 1 microscope. So there's a lot of emphasis we need to do there, because children will not enjoy science until they know how it's applied. So, side note on that. Now, on this bill, I know how it originally would affect my 2 counties, Autauga County and Chilton County. It would drop those 2 schools a letter grade. And you might not have this ability right now, but this is what I'm going to be looking for is, with the changes that you've made, how will Autauga County and Chilton County come out with those numbers if we do this and implement it now?
I'm going to say this. I think just like when we passed the school raid bill to start with, we didn't know exactly how that was going to be. That's one reason the lines are set for where they are. And those will still have to be set when we look at new indicators. The board's still going to have to set. That's why I want the continuous improvement. If we look at growth compared to proficiency, that is a little bit different way. So we can get an estimate on what it's going to look like, but I don't know that we're going to be able to tell you before you make a vote what your system's going to be. But I would ask you to do this, to look at how many students are not proficient or grade level and decide, does your grade truly represent what it's saying? And my goal is not to lower everybody's grades. I even extended that for 3 more years. That's in the sub that you have right now. It's simply to continuously have improvement. Let's continuous. Literacy Act, we first mentioned it, the first speaker. We are incrementally increasing that. We even take us out of it. Let this advisory council, they would be knowledgeable people. They would have their feet on the ground after 3 years. So, and we'd be looking at real data to see how we're doing, because that's what that return on investment part of it is.
And I think the reason that I bring that up is because we live in the world of the CHOOSE Act now, and we're all competing for those outstanding students. And as we do that, if we somehow change our scores in public school to make us look worse, then we put ourselves in a tough situation when we're out competing for students and parents.
That is exactly what all of these people are concerned about. But I'm concerned that when a child is told their school is an A and 60% of them can't do math, that we are not fairly assessing that. I'm not wanting to go from the top all the way to the bottom. I want us to set reasonable goals. I want us to measure what matters. I want us to put that together. And then I want us to continue lifting, mainly because we've seen we already can. We've got Wall Street Journal, we've got New York Times, we've got everybody talking. This is the time to show we're ready to move forward and we want to do the right thing for the kids.
Representative Morris, you're recognized.
Okay, some of the questions I had was already answered, especially with getting the information per county to be able to determine, and then lowering the scores for each system, for the school system, right? But my biggest thing is when we're talking about the kids and we're putting them all in one basket, that's not accurate because we have different learning styles. So all of them are not going to be A students. Everybody's not going to be a B student. So you're going to have some students who not going to be on the A level or the C level. I mean, probably
Which is
coming
why
up.
we rate our growth more in almost every situation.
Okay, so now we're just focusing mostly on tests. And then I heard you say something about the eights, and I agree that we need to sit and probably go through each point, but is it okay if we ask someone who already came up a question?
Surely.
Okay.
Ask the chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Certainly, I'll honor that request. Who is it that you wish to be able to address?
I don't know. No, behind you. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, our nationally recognized school superintendent. Then, yeah, no, you're recognized. Go ahead, Representative Morris. Go ahead and ask your question.
Some of your time, but when she made the point about going through the different credentials for this, can you give me or give us on an expert level what are some of the points that you saw that you did not actually agree with and why?
Can I say it's more than just the points, but it's the process?
Okay.
So, a lot of times people get the words change and increase, get it mixed up as if it means the same. They mean the same thing, but they don't. Just because you change doesn't mean that you're going to get an increase, right? And so I think that when you change or when you raise the bar, whatever term you want to use, that it must be done methodically. It must be done collaboratively. And I don't think that process has we've lend itself to that. And so it must be where you have educators at the table, you have legislators at the table, you have all of the shareholders there, so that we can be very intentional about the change and how we raise the bar. So it's not the indicators itself, it's the process that I have a problem with.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Representative Fincher, you're recognized.
Madam Chair, first of all, I want to thank you. You have been in the eye of the hurricane for a number of years, and you have advocated very strongly for improvements that have been made in this state. And I've been here. Sometimes you've had to drag me along in the trail of the hurricane. But I want to thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for being open and listening to other people. I see a number of changes that have been made in what was brought before us earlier. And I understand you're not finished yet, that there will continue to be changes. I'm an old teacher, taught for many, many years, and I know that at some point we often get to where we teach the test. And, administrators and principals want their teachers to bring about that growth and knowledge, and we all want to see that. We all want to see that. But I am glad, for instance, that you have cut the graduation rate's importance, because some people are graduated from high school in different places in this state with very little knowledge.
Correct.
And I have seen indications of that at the college level and post-secondary. I also want to thank you for putting a little bit of it back in as far as attendance, because you can't teach kids that if you don't have their fanny in a seat there somewhere.
Thank you.
You've got to have them in the classroom. And I think the modifications you have made are making improvement on the bill that we see before us now.
Thank you.
And
I'm continue, like Representative DuBose said too, if you've got specifics, if you hear specifics from your superintendent, let me know.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Representative Rawls, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Sometimes I'm in the corner and I don't think you see, sometimes my hand's not seen. First of all, thank you. I've known you a long time. I know how hard you work and how much you care for children and families and just our state in general. And so I do thank you.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing today is a willingness for people, all people,
correct,
to be open.
Correct.
That we all want certain
specific
things. Yes, but it's got if it's going to be collaborative, it's got to be collaborative. Mm-hmm. So people have got to make that a priority, to make their voice heard. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm sure it can be figured out, because what we need is stability. We need stability. Mm-hmm. We do want accountability preserved. We do want continuous improvement.
Yes.
But we also want buy-in. We want morale. We want teachers to know they're valued.
Yes.
And whatever it takes to make them understand, we are for them. We are not against them, because they're the ones that hold the key to every bit of this. So I thank you for a week. And I hope that we can really get together and see what we can do to make this happen.
Thank you.
We are getting closer towards needing to wind things down. Representative Drummond, you're recognized.
Just one quick one. And I think I was listening to everybody, and I think Van Smith said something, and Representative Daniels. Would you consider an amendment on this bill? Because there's so much money in the ETF that's going to private schools as well. We need to come up with a way, because I think we need to hold everybody accountable and not just some.
With that, then, I would say this to all the members of the committee, then, I want to share something with you that was good, I guess, news to me, as I felt this was something that I already was perceiving. And that is somewhat, it mentions that of the committees that they attend and such, they really, in attending the Education Policy Committee, they felt that this committee was really asking very thoughtful questions, was being very deliberative, and trying to become more informed and such. And so I applaud each of you for those efforts. And that is, I think that is definitely what you represent for this committee, so I thank you for that. Chairwoman Collins, you have been a very passionate and champion for education for a long time. We much appreciate your passion, and that is the desire, I think, of this group, and that is, although sometimes we may not all agree on the goals, but I think regarding this bill that there seems to be a consensus on maybe the agreed goal that is working towards then continuous improvement and raising the bar. So that seems to be, from what I hear, then that seems to be the direction. But sometimes how we get there is not, that's where sometimes there may be some different ideas as to how we get there on that. With that then, Chairwoman Collins, I know we're getting close. Do you have any closing comments that you would like to make? Otherwise, I will
let me know your
dismiss us here in just a moment. Any further comments?
No.
With that then, thank you, members. Thank you for those that have come then to give your expressions in regards to this bill. We are adjourned.
You got a cut.